Next, let's clear up education. University of Wyoming Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority fires back after being targeted by anti-trans lawsuit. A University of Wyoming sorority hit back at members who complained about a trans woman being accepted into their local chapter, insisting the term woman is unquestionably open to many interpretations. 7 sorority sisters from the Kappa Kappa Gamma sued the sorority in March, saying that the chapter violated its own rules by admitting Artemis Langford last year. 6 of the women then refiled the lawsuit in May after a judge twice barred them from suing anonymously. The lawsuit claimed Langford's presence in the Kappa Kappa Gamma house made some sorority members uncomfortable. It alleged that the trans pledge would sit on a couch for hours while staring at them without talking.
All of the bathrooms are shared spaces. There are about 3, 4 if you count the guest bathroom. And they are shared spaces. There are no private changing areas for when you shower. There are no locks on the showers. And it's very open and vulnerable.
Oh my goodness. And this person's moving into the sorority house next year?
What's interesting about that, Megan, is that there has been an exemption granted for him, for his safety, but not for these young women.
On Tuesday, Kappa Kappa Gamma filed a motion to dismiss the suit, claiming that it is a frivolous attempt to kick Langford out for their political purposes. The motion also suggested the complaining members resign from the sorority if its position of inclusion is too offensive for them. In a separate filing Tuesday in support of the sorority's motion to dismiss the case, an attorney for Langford wrote that the lawsuit also fails to mention any wrongdoing or seek relief from Langford. Well, this story is it's quite bothersome. I mean, just like so many. But you know, this sorority has had this policy in place of inclusion since 2015. So that's really already 8 years. So one would think that the members of the sorority knew this already when they were getting in. So I kind of just want to like chime in and say what the attorney is saying for Langford there. If you don't like it, then just get out. Yeah. But it's a very perplexing situation to me. It's perplexing.
I thought the judge's choice of words were powerful, right? If they are bothered by inclusion, then they need to just, step away and not want to be a part of the sorority. I thought that was very powerful. You are bothered by inclusion, right? And so I think that that's a very direct.
Do you mean in a shaming way?
In a shaming way, yeah. It's shaming somebody for not espousing values that actually are becoming of a person of high integrity, of just good character. So it's a great choice of words. Yeah. I love the way the judge framed that.
It was just like the similar thing if you would say, if you're bothered by love and joy, then go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I think it shows that we have way more allies than we do detractors. There's obviously a lot of bigots out there who are very loud, but I mean, this is Wyoming. People like to say, oh, that's the reddest of the red. It's in the country. No, there's plenty of decent people in Wyoming who are willing to support their LGBTQ neighbors.
You know, I was excited too in this story because I love new information. I didn't know that J.K. Rowling's daughter had pledged Kappa Kappa Gamma. So I thought that was very interesting that she did it. I didn't know she'd go to a place like the University of Wyoming, but that's totally interesting to me. Yeah. The other thing that I always on stories like this, I always apply this standard on broad civil rights. The argument here is that the trans person should not be allowed to be in the sorority. And you hear the judge's interpretation, and perhaps it'll be challenged and it'll continue up the hill. But at the end of the day, I was the president of my fraternity, Sigma Chi, at the University of Central Florida. My standard on a story like this and an event like this is always what would have happened in Black civil rights. What would have happened in 1964 if somebody would have pledged Sigma Chi? Sigma Chi was 70 years old already in 1964. They would not have allowed a black pledge. They would not have. And then the question is, you get into the courts, somebody sues, you can be a member, you can't be a member. It would be the exact story that we watched here at Kappa Kappa Gamma in 1964.
Yeah.
Okay, you can understand that because that was the history of the time. Not right, but that was the history of the time. In 1984, I'm president of Sigma Chi at the University of Central Florida, and there were no black pledges ever in the history of the fraternity. Never one. In 1984. And the first black pledge, we fought in a blackball session for like 10 hours of insistence of the president of the fraternity and a whole gamut of other pledge brothers that said, he's coming. This is the time. It's absolute. Shut up. And if you don't want to, get out of Kappa Kappa Gamma if you don't believe that this is important. But one person could throw the black ball and stop it. And we fought and fought and fought and wore them down and wore them down and wore them down. That's this story. My story in 1984, it really was the story in 1964. And it's the trans story here at the University of Wyoming in 2023. Come on and give me a break. And oh, by the way, that pledge that finally got into Sigma Chi in 1984 went on to be the first black student government president at the University of Central Florida. Pretty cool. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.